Well,
Yeah.
we are. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm so excited about this. We've been studying all about fasting biblically. We're getting ready to enter into our second session on why we biblically fast. And this wonderful, wonderful friend that I've met, her name is Cynthia Ray. She's been gracious enough to join us today and talk to us about the scientific reasons and scientifically, what happens when we fast. And so apparently there are so many benefits to fasting physically that we did not know, not only spiritually, but also physically. And so we've been focusing more so on the spiritual benefits and the reasons why we do. But Cynthia is going to talk about the physical benefits of fasting and her lifestyle and how she incorporates that into her practice. Cynthia, thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you. I'm excited to share after that intro. I was like, ooh, I can't wait. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I've never done this before in this group, so this is completely new to
Yay.
me. But
Thank you for
this,
having me. That's awesome.
I'm, I'm going to introduce you though. Cynthia is a registered dietitian and a fitness specialist, and she didn't include it in her bio, but I'm going to say it. She has a #1 selling book on Amazon right now, and it's called The 21-Day Sugar Detox, right?
It is. Yeah.
And you wrote it about a year ago, right?
I published it last December, yeah, 2023, December 19th. It went on Amazon Live. Yeah. I
Well,
can, wow, it's on my fast. But
certainly,
yeah. hmm
God has certainly blessed you,
Thank
and
you.
I'm so thankful to know you and to watch you and your career and also how you incorporate the Lord and everything that you do. And it's such an inspiration to me.
Aw,
But she's also a homeschooling mom of three.
I
Uh,
am.
his name is Corey, and they've been married for 23 years. And she's passionate about researching and learning. And she loves a good, fun workout, a tasty cup of coffee or tea, all things art, history, and science. And she loves going with her family to the museum, orchestras, and all types of live music. And her favorite is jazz and 90s hip hop. I did not know that. I love that. My family, and she said that her family is from Costa Rica and
Yeah.
Nicaragua,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
speaks some Spanish,
Uh-huh.
but script listening and responding in English.
English. Yeah.
So her family loves traveling and she loves having new cultural experiences. I know just from working
hmm
with her professionally and now becoming her friend that she works with lots of people from lots of different ethnic backgrounds, and I think that that's fascinating.
hmm
Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I was thinking about all the art things. That's kind of like my homeschool life is like we just like to go out and experience life together. So all the music and the art stuff is always fun to make memories together with. So
My youngest son loves the orchestra, or my oldest son, Judah. I
uh-huh.
mean, it's Noah. Hey, little buddy. How you doing? Do you come to say hi? Huh? Good.
Aw.
Every now and then we get a cameo. We can't help it. So okay. So let's go a little deeper, and Cynthia
Okay.
is going to help us learn about the scientific benefits of fasting. Cynthia, thank you so much for doing this with us today. And
Yeah.
um, tell us a little bit about yourself and the population that you serve.
Yeah. Yeah. So you shared a little bit about me, my family side and my social side. So for the past 20, it's been probably about 25, 27 years. I'm 47 now. So about 27 years I've been working in private practice as a dietitian and working mainly with eating disorders, probably the first 20 years of my practice. So I'm also recovered. In my 14 to 24, I struggled with eating disorders, binge eating, anorexia, bulimia, and exercise addiction. But through God's grace, totally delivered from it. In my book, I have my whole testimony at the beginning, and help women now over 40 like me to learn how to navigate nutrition, navigate their bodies to be their best self after 40. Because I know for me, when I struggled with my eating issues was when my body was changing, right? So from being a girl to a young woman, I wasn't prepared. I didn't really know what to expect. And all of a sudden I started gaining weight and, our bodies change. And then now, after 40, by 44, 45, I was like, I'm doing all the things. I'm still working out. I'm still eating healthfully, eating mindfully, intuitively, all that great stuff. But putting on a little extra body fat. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. And so one day I was working out and I thought, you know what? I really want to kind of challenge my body to see what its optimal potential is and just going through the motions every day. So ended up doing some kind of diet program, which I've never done. Because I'm eating disorders dietitian, recovery dietitian. We do our best to teach women how not to diet anymore. And so I'm like, I'm just going to give it a go and experiment, right? Test my body. And it was horrible. I realized I don't like restricting calories or food. So yeah, didn't lost the weight, but it came back a little bit, not all of it, but just knew it wasn't right for me. So after I wrote my sugar detox book, the first group of women who we did it as a group together, were feeling so good. We met every Saturday and just discussed, what they were going through, and they were done like day 21, week 3, going into transition week 4. They were like, oh my goodness, like we're feeling so good. We don't want to lose you. Like we're having such a good time where we've made so much growth and transformation. What do we do next? And I was like, oh brother, like God prompted me to write this book and he didn't show me anything else quite yet. So give me a minute. So I took a step back, spent time in prayer and asked God for wisdom. And I just remember one morning waking up and the word fasting kept coming to mind. And I was like, because I remember somebody from church, our pastor in his sermon actually brushed on it a little bit. And then he mentioned it in Bible study, again, brushed on it. And then one of my friends here, we were at our community pool together. She asked me, oh, so what do you think about fasting? And I was like, oh, I don't know enough about it. So I can't really give you an opinion. And so then I thought, okay, those are all interesting, Lord, but I'm so against dieting just because that's my training and my life. And so I thought fasting, that's like extreme dieting. Why would I ever tell somebody not to eat? I've been trying to get people to eat for the past 25 years. So, but I'm like, okay, God, you know more than I do. So I just put it in his hands and I said, okay, I'm going to start doing the research. And I love, she said, I love research and I love learning and teaching. So I did the research, watched all kinds of videos, read all kinds of medical journal articles, and thought, oh my goodness, this is a whole world of things that are in here that I had no idea existed. I mean, in my traditional medical dietitian training, we weren't taught any of these things. And plus it's kind of newer and up and coming anyway. And I thought, wow, Lord, this is amazing. Like I knew he knew, but I needed to trust him and know that I could look into it and see. So this has opened my life to a whole nother level. And so the group that did the 21-day sugar detox and they wanted more, I told them, okay, I found some cool stuff. I'm going to implement it myself for a month or 2. And then do you all want to be a part of my test group? So they're like, yeah, let's do it. So I ended up with 12 women, which is cool, kind of like the 12 disciples. And I love how God works with numbers. So I thought, okay, 12, we'll do our 12. So we had 12 women in the test group and it went great. Like anything, there's variable results, but most of them just started, honestly, the group itself was more towards body fat loss for women over 40, but it turned out it was just that body fat loss was just one layer of, like we call it, the wellness onion. So they were not just losing body fat, but they were reversing aging by, the joint pain that they had in order to work out was gone. So they could work out more now. One lady had some eye issues and her doctor had no idea what it was. So she kept going to get tested. And then probably within the first 6 weeks of us doing this together, her eye stuff was stabilizing and starting to get better.
That's to me.
I know, isn't that cool? Yeah. And then somebody else, people with bloating, gut health issues, they were being resolved. I was like, wow, God, there's so much healing and just doing nothing. Like you can not do anything, like food wise. Meanwhile, I'm trying to, feed everybody all these, valuable nutrients, which there is value to that, like different cleansing drinks and all these things to help your body heal, anti-inflammatory foods, Mediterranean diet, like all these amazing, they're still great. But you can also do nothing with food, give your body a break and it heals itself. So I was like, wow, God, you put something so amazing in us that has been around since the beginning of time, but now we're beginning to start to resurface in this time in history. So I was really thankful. So yeah, that's where I've been and where I am now and helping women over 40. I have a course, the Ageless Body Blueprint, and I help women in there with all the things I learned and educate them on how to do it. And we have an awesome, strong community of women who support each other. So anyway, yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
That's amazing because I mean, you started out with the sugar detox, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm also interested. I mean, that's for a whole nother conversation, how
Yeah.
you came up with that as well, because I've always been into, fasting for or not eating sugar for a period of time. I did it for a year and a half just because I was so ill.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw that it's so great because people can do 21 days. It's
Right.
it's
Of sugar detoxing. Yeah.
it's achievable, it's manageable, and you're not asking too much of them. And it's not 30 days even, it's 21. And I love that. And
Yeah.
so I I thought that was great already. And so the fact that it went from that to the fasting, I just think it's really fascinating. And it's really, really, really awesome that you guys are doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because the more I think about it, I'm running we just did a 3 week group together. So with the book itself, I have a private group. So if anybody wants to join me, you can, but I run the group all the time. So we go through the book together, kind of it's really like devotional style. It's set up, it's a journey. So day one, there's a devotional basically for each day, and then nutritional and wellness information. And then there's journaling and scriptures and everything that go along with each day, which is unique because most wellness books don't have scripture that go along with it. And it just gives
Yeah.
it that much more power and authority when you add scripture and bring God into it. Especially when it's an emotional issue that's people are struggling with, they start to grow in themselves. But um, yeah, in the 20, what was I going to say about the 21 days? Yeah, so we just are now finishing up a group and same thing. They're like, okay, what's next? I'm like, good thing I have this other course now set up so
Yeah.
we can move on. Like, yeah, so that one starts February 5th. Just throw it out there if anybody wants to. I'll share more later. But anyway, February 5th, I can't wait. We're starting our round 3. Yeah.
Perfect.
So it's been a blessing for me
Yeah.
just to
And
watch people get blessed.
also, if anybody is interested in, buying her book, we will definitely put a link up in the group if you, want to join her group later on, as because she does them periodically. Is it every month you'll do a group with your for your book or something like
Yeah, yeah, it really, yes, I do it actually. It's planned quarterly, but it really is dependent on who wants to do it. So if I have like, handful of ladies who are like, I need this right now, or I need to keep going, then I'll keep it going. Like this particular group, there's 2 or 3 ladies that want to keep going. So we're going to start it up again, probably second week of February, something like that. I have to look at my schedule, but we're going to start up again instead of wait until the summertime.
Great.
So
I love
yeah,
it.
just
I'm
depends.
definitely wanting to grab my copy of your book because I think it's great that, in your in somebody's schedule while they're doing this, that they can follow the Lord and get quiet with Him and be still and be with Him and help Him or have
Mm,
Him help us unravel
mm,
what it is that is
mm-hmm.
causing the problem that we're having with food or with illness or whatever it may be that we're dealing with emotionally. And so I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, definitely the whole person. That's one of the things I tell everybody is, as a dietitian, obviously my specialty is nutrition, but it's the whole person. I mean, just working with eating disorders for so many years and recovering myself, it's like you can't just tell somebody how to eat and get them out of an eating disorder. You have to address the whole person because it's spiritual, it's emotional, it's physical, it's mental, and like anything that anytime somebody attempts to make change in any way, it takes all of those aspects, like a holistic approach, right? So you have to address the whole person. Otherwise, you won't get the outcome that you're wanting, at least long term.
Right.
So, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, we would love to know the benefits of fasting scientifically. And I think we had mentioned that maybe you could walk us through like the hours where we
Okay.
start to see benefits in the
Sure.
body.
Yeah.
Because the girls some of us have, you know, questions around pre-existing conditions that they may have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this would be really great for you to walk us through this.
Okay. Yeah. Let me see. Let me share the screen. Hang on one sec. I'm going to share with you all a timeline, a little sheet with a timeline on it that describes the different benefits of each hour of fasting. So let's see. Can you see it? Let me open it bigger. Let me see. Okay, you got it. Okay,
We got it.
You got it. Okay, let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger for you all to see. Excuse all my tabs. That's how I roll. I love information, so I always have tabs open for everything.
It looks like
I can
mine.
open it. Yeah. Anyway, I can't open it bigger when it's like, anyway, so but you can see it. Okay, so all right, so fasting timeline benefits. So this Dr. Mindy Pelz is, I love her, and if you guys want to look her up, she's amazing. But she's an advocate for fasting for women's health, and so I learned a lot from her. There's also through maybe 5 other physicians that I follow who specialize in this area as well. Not necessarily women's health, but fasting and even diabetes, all kinds of nuances with fasting. But I like the way she mapped it out because it's very clear. So, all right, so we'll start at the top. So fasting benefits timeline. So when most of us hear about intermittent fasting, that's very cliche right now. It's the word on the street, right? So with our group and myself, I live more on this fasting benefits timeline, not necessarily intermittent fasting. So fasting I think there's seven different types of fasting. You can do at the beginning. We have intermittent fasting here at the top of this timeline, which is considered about 13 to 15 hours of fasting. And this is the place where you start to get an increase in human growth hormone. I'm going to pause at that for a sec because human growth hormone, I just was learning today, it was really fascinating to me, that once you get to the 48-hour point with fasting, that you actually increase your human growth hormone by 500%. And when you age at 35 and you age beyond 35, it starts to gradually decrease. And human growth hormone is responsible for our growth and development structure. It's responsible for muscle, mainly muscle. So as you age, we start to become, there's a word for it. I see like you start to lose muscle, basic atrophy. Right. So you start to lose muscle as you age just because human growth hormone levels are going down and then activity levels go down too. So if one of the huge benefits of fasting with aging is that you increase your human growth hormone by that much of a percentage, especially when you're fasting, especially if you're exercising while you're fasting, human growth hormone levels skyrocket. And the more you do that, the more longevity you have overall. So, a lot of people, older people, have issues with hunching, just muscle sarcopenia. That's what it is. Sarcopenia is muscle loss as you age. So when you are fasting and exercising, you actually build more strength in your body as you age, which is super amazing. Okay. So 13 to 15 hours, human growth hormones starts to increase. You begin to have reduced inflammation. This is where the fat burning begins. So with fat burning, what you need to do, stop me too if you have any questions, because I can just talk about this all day.
We're switching over from glucose, right? Over to fat burning stage right here at the 13 to 15 hour.
Exactly. Yeah. So in order to switch into fat burning, you have to have insulin and sugar low. So in order for your body to reach into that storehouse, these have to be low. It's like the little gatekeeper. If they're up or at normal, it can't get it. You have to have it low. So and you achieve that through fasting. And once that's low, then over time, your body will start to reach into body fat for fuel. All right, and at that point, you have increased ketones, which are the byproducts of the metabolic byproducts of burning fat or going to fat for fuel. And those ketones circulate in your body. At first, probably 15 years ago, as a dietitian, I would tell people never get into ketosis. It's dangerous, but it's dangerous for diabetics, not necessarily if it gets out of control, but not for an average healthy person. And it's actually helpful and healing. It actually helps with joint or any inflammation, especially joint pain, but mostly it helps to heal your brain. So as you age, same thing, as your brain health technically declines, having the ketones available and bathing your brain in ketones really helps with brain clarity, and it really helps with just the health of your brain overall. So your brain loves that. Um, and then improved energy and focus because you have so much brain clarity going on too. All right, 17 hours of fasting. This is autophagy fasting. So autophagy was discovered by a doctor. I can't think of his name right now, but he's a Japanese physician who was studying the effects of starvation from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I know it's kind of dark, but he was a child during that era, and he really wanted to know. He's a biologist. He wanted to figure it out. And autophagy is basically, like it says here, cellular detoxification, cellular repair, improved immune function, and cancer prevention. So this is where your body's recycling bad cells and bringing in good ones. So at only 17 hours, it's really not that hard to do 17 hours if you build up to it. But you start getting these huge benefits of reversing disease, and your body's what's it called? It's wisdom, in its own wisdom, it goes and looks for these cells that are kind of, not doing well, they're not healthy, will digest them, which sounds crazy, in your cell. And the liposomes will digest them, and then you'll excrete them. And then in turn, it builds up healthier cells in its place. So you start to get some healing and healing from degeneration in your body.
That's
So again, you go ahead.
that's incredible because just that 2 hour difference between the 15 mark and the 17 mark. I mean, anybody can do 2 more hours if they want to have a healthier immune system. Because I know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many people like me. I had a thyroid issue. I was stepping into pre-diabetes at one time. And if I would have known about this back then, I would have integrated this right away. And
Mm-hmm.
the science that's come about in the last 5 years is just incredible. And just by being your friend, the first time I saw you put this out there,
Mm-hmm.
this hour by hour thing, I was like, wow. I was like, I cannot wait to do this. And then I was already pregnant.
Oh no.
And I
Soon
was like,
enough.
I have to do this for like 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So the people who should not be fasting are people who are already underweight, people who
Right.
have or had eating disorders, and people who are pregnant. So
God.
just throwing that out there. You should not fast if
If
in
you
those
are
conditions.
pre-diabetic, it's okay for.
Uh, uh, yes, and I'll tell you about that too. Yeah. So but also type 1 diabetics, it's tricky because it's still newer science, so we're trying to figure it out. But with type 1 diabetics, it's best to do it with your physician. But if they understand fasting, which is hard to find. So I have a video and I'll show you guys share the link with you guys. But there's a girl who is type 1 diabetic who understands fasting just for herself. And I thought it was informative. You have to figure out what your baseline insulin level needs to be when you're fasting. And she does a 24-hour fast herself.
Mhm.
And then checks her blood sugar every few hours and makes sure her insulin's good and then adjusts accordingly. And then that's how she was able to fast, was by knowing her own body, by testing and things like that. But yeah, it's very intensive and detailed, and you have to be careful because the over ketone production can be harmful on your kidneys and your blood sugar. So as a type 1 diabetic, so
Right.
it's kind of it's a fine balance. But
Just making sure, there's a lot of people out there that are in the pre-diabetes realm, and so it's okay if you're pre-diabetic. If somebody were pre-diabetic though, what would be like a good jumping off point for them? What would be a good starting point for them when they're.
yeah, so yeah, I was thinking too. I'll share with you a little bit about how fasting heals pre-diabetes. You can actually reverse it with fasting. So same thing. So pre-diabetes basically means that you're insulin resistant. That's another common word, right, that we use a lot. So insulin resistance is common with, I guess, men and women who are aging, and it's just because we've been taught to eat 3 to 5 meals a day, and I've been teaching that for a long time, but I'm now changing gears. Your insulin's always being worked
Right.
and taxed in your pancreas, right? So your insulin is responsible for, it's like the lock and key, right? Insulin's responsible for putting carbohydrates into the cell for energy. If you're insulin resistant, then the key's not going to work for the lock. So you won't be able to get into the cell. So you have circulating blood sugar and it's damaging to your body. So if you're insulin resistant, the way fasting helps is it gives your digestive system a break. It gives your pancreas a break, gives it a moment to go through this autophagy we're talking about to help reduce inflammation in the cells, so that the lock and key will work overall, right? It'll work.
So
What
that
else?
so that the insulin can get into the cell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it becomes less resistant and more compatible
Got it.
because of you're giving it a break. And this, because of autophagy, you're getting rid of those cells that aren't doing well, but rebuilding ones that are capable of, doing that, of pulling off that, system. So yeah, that's just, there's a couple things too, other things too, but that's the main reason
Oh,
why how fasting helps. Yeah. Okay. So what was your main question though about insulin resistance?
no, I think that you answered it because,
Mm-hmm.
if you were wanting to get over the insulin resistance, then the 17-hour, it looks like what you're saying is that the 17-hour would be a good answer for that. So that the insulin can get into the cell instead of just circulate through, because it's allowing the cell to be more accepting of it, right?
Like a healthy cell, right? To be more healthy and do what it was
Because you're getting
designed
rid
to
of
do.
bad cells and then putting good cells back in that can receive it.
Mm-hmm. And also decreasing the inflammation of the ones who are moderate or okay. You just kind of helping them heal up a little bit.
Perfect. Because
Mm-hmm.
inflammation is at the root of most problems. And so if we're not if we're fasting, then we're reducing inflammation in the body, and then the benefits are endless as to what conditions you can reverse.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. And then so, 17 hours and then you go to 24, that's where you start to reset your gut. Your intestinal stem cell begin to regenerate. You get GABA, that calming neurotransmitter production, and then brain healing, and then more autoimmune healing. Then you go get brave and do 36, and you're reducing glucose stores, reducing insulin. That's another way that you can reverse prediabetes is 36-hour fast. Increase body fat burning. If anybody's struggling in my groups or whatever with losing body fat with fasting, then we usually do a 36, and it's like that breakthrough. All of a sudden your body's like, okay, got it. I need to start going to something else, unless their liver's clogged up. That's a whole other thing. But if they have a healthy liver and they're still struggling, 36 will do it.
That's a good point to bring up. If somebody's never
Mm-hmm.
done a liver detox ever,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say about that?
Yeah, yeah. So definitely, in my course, the Ageless Body Blueprint, I have the first thing we do. The first order of business is everybody does a 7-day liver detox meal plan that I have and all the packet. And or we do. You taught me about coffee enemas or dry brushing.
Right.
What was the other thing? Oh, castor oil packs, my favorite. So you can do a castor oil pack on your liver, put that on for an hour, 3 days in a row or more, hour or more, with a heating pad on top.
Right.
And then that helps to start to clear your liver up. So we do that before we start diving into fasting, just to make sure everybody's on the same playing field. Even if your liver's okay, most of us can use it anyway.
Right.
Um,
I
yeah.
love it. Okay, I'm not gonna interrupt anything else that you're
No,
saying.
no, no. I want you. This is good. This is good. Good
I'm so
conversation.
sorry.
I know we're in the same interest. So okay, so
Wonderful.
36 hours, awesome. So and then 36 hours also has an anti-aging effect even more. It just increases. Everything increases, right? And so 48 hours, we have a dopamine reset. We start to heal your brain if you're having any issues with imbalances of dopamine. You get to reset dopamine receptors, reduce anxiety and depression, anti-aging, antioxidant production. And here we go. The HGH, human growth hormone, increases by 500%. So that's like, if that's not anti-aging, I don't know what is.
Well, I
Like
mean,
that's everything right there. Yeah.
you live a fasting lifestyle, and I'm being honest, and I know everybody would agree with me. Nobody thinks you're 47.
Oh yeah. Yes. It's
Nobody.
working. I
Nobody.
know. I'll take it. Good genes and good fasting. I know, right? So and energy, that's my other thing. Energy is amazing. Okay, and then last one is immune. Well, there's more beyond this, but from this timeline, 72-hour fast, which is an immunity fast. So if somebody is struggling with chronic disease conditions, This is when you have peak autophagy. This is when that I talked about 17 hours. That autophagy is just like ramped up. Your body's is like it's an open playing field for it to start healing itself. It's just like at its peak. It's just getting rid of bad stuff, making good stuff, cycling everything. It even starts to produce new immune stem cells. So I've seen and read, or heard and read, that there are some, physicians who are knowing and understanding this, who have patients with leukemia or, that people who require stem cell treatment will have them first thing first do a 72-hour fast and see what kind of regeneration they get before they start implementing treatment. So, and it works and they see it and it's amazing. I'm like, wow, oh God, we do nothing. And again, he heals our bodies, right? So it's set up that way. Our immune, stem cells and then musculoskeletal stem cells, chronic conditions are reversing and then accelerated healing for your body overall. But of course, if you have a chronic condition, always, I have to say disclaimer wise, check with your physician, make sure that it's okay to fast, especially if you're taking medications, because there's certain ones that require nutrition
Right.
for absorption, or nausea and so on.
Well, that's interesting. My father has CLL leukemia,
Mm-hmm.
and he has been taking well, it's a medication, but it is a form of chemotherapy, and it basically stops the replication. And so it didn't, before he started taking any kind of treatment, his lymph nodes started to get hard and things like that. And he was progressing pretty quickly. But then when they gave him this medication, it kind of stopped that replication and kind of reversed that, just kind of put it on a pause. But um, this really interests me. Also, my mother, and I haven't told very many people this, but my mom has come up with the early stages of melanoma, and there's a spot on her nose right now that she's having to, go through the whole, biopsy, keep on going lower and lower and lower. And so melanoma, some people think that it is a skin or a sun thing, and other people feel like it's not. And so my question though is, with this 72-hour fast, what type of person that is dealing with cancer would be a good candidate for this type of fast?
Okay, so let me think here. There's a few different scenarios. Well, like I said, first of all, you want to make sure your doctor's okay with it.
Oh,
But usually, like leukemias and things that are more of like stem cell specific, honestly, I was just reading this morning, actually, there's a study out with women. It's pretty fascinating, actually, of women who had breast cancer. And so which is a huge study, 2,000 women actually volunteered for this study because fasting is a newer thing, right, for healing. And so they took half of them and had them fast no more than 13 hours. And then they took the other half of them and had them fast more than 13 hours. I don't know exactly how long. They just said over 13 hours. And they did it, I think, for about six months, actually, for a while. And when they came back, they saw, I think it was a 64% decrease in cancer cells compared to the ones who were fasting less than 13 or 13 or less. So that was just kind of preliminary, trying to understand if it works. It's all new. It's so cool. God's bringing back this stuff, and using it in our, every modern world. And so they're just starting to see things. And I when I think of stem cells, when I was working as an intern as a dietitian at a teaching hospital, one of my patients had CLL, and so I was my case study, and I was like, wow, this 19-year-old kid with this leukemia, and he had these crazy stem cell treatments. Like nobody could see him. His immune system was so compromised. If anything got near him, it could kill him. But as soon as I started learning about the 72-hour immunity fast, I thought, wow, that would be such a great thing to add to
right,
the treatment, because you wouldn't need as much medication because you're working with your body to heal itself.
right.
So yeah, so when I think about like disease conditions and anything really, diabetes you can reverse. I've talked about type 2 at least, or pre-diabetes.
Right.
Um, mm-hmm.
Well, this is great. This is
Yay!
great.
I'll stop my share. I think we're good on the timeline, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything. You asked me, okay, we're talking about the timeline,
Talked about
pre-diabetes,
diabetes and the diabetes, and
right?
is it helpful for a true diabetic? Now, you said that, people would need to find a doctor that specializes in this area, to
Right.
walk them
Okay.
through it, and that you have a YouTube link here. It looks like that if
Oh,
they
yeah.
were interested in that, then they can kind of check out this person's journey with that on how they're doing with it, as far
Yeah,
as, because they have to maintain a baseline, is what you were saying, right?
exactly. Yeah, for insulin. Yeah. And it's you have to really, if you are type 1 diabetic, watching the video would make a ton of sense. And yeah, or if you just wanted to learn about it, it's interesting too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be watching it, but I'll share it on our feed underneath this interview in the
Okay.
comment
Cool.
section. But
Okay.
one of the questions that the girls had was, what are the fruits to stay away from when we're trying to get off sugar?
Okay. So yes. Okay, I'm thinking about my book. Okay, so what we do in my book, just to kind of give you an overall idea, is focus on more of like a paleo style eating. And when people ask me, "Oh, how should I eat?" My first question is, "Well, what are you wanting to resolve?" Because obviously there's a million different diet variations. So when I wrote the book, I thought, okay, what's the issue at hand? What do I'm helping women resolve? And so it was to detox, to reduce sugar cravings, and basically make it easy to or easier to balance your blood sugar so that you're not having as strong of cravings. And so in a paleo style diet or just any kind of low sugar diet, it's usually you focus on the uh, fruits that are low glycemic, and you want to stay the one. So low glycemic is basically the ones that don't have as much of an impact on your blood sugar
Mhm.
as compared to the high ones, which you want to stay away from. So high glycemic fruits are the ones that spike your blood sugar more readily, and you kind of get that spike and crash, and your energy's, flatlined. So ones that are high glycemic are things like mangoes, ripe bananas, dried cranberries, pineapple, raisins, watermelon. I think there's anything else. Those are the main ones I was thinking of. So those are the higher glycemic ones of the glycemic index. And if you want, you can go online and just put glycemic index of foods.
Mhm.
Just that's the terminology. Just Google that and it'll give you the chart. So you want to stay. So the ones that are lower glycemic that I like to use are like berries, um, green apples are low glycemic, some types of melon. But if you go on to, again, the glycemic index of foods, you can see a whole list of ones that are lower glycemic.
Mhm. And
So
then if you
yeah,
stick into the berries, usually, when I was doing a lower sugar diet, that when you're not eating a lot of sugar and you actually eat these, you feel satisfied. So you don't feel like you're really going without necessarily, because you're just not used to the sugar. Uh,
right. That's true.
I'm not when I eat them, and I'll eat like a smoothie or something and be like, I'm totally satisfied. It totally killed the craving. So, or
Yeah.
dark chocolate even.
Yes. Yeah. I have a whole list of my top 10 sweet treat alternatives. So when you're doing the sugar detox, you can still enjoy something that makes you satisfies your craving without actually having sugar. And what I learned last, so basically fat and salt and protein get rid of cravings. So as long as your sugar is going and down, up and down, it that's like the recipe to increase your sugar cravings. But like for example, avocado sprinkled with sea salt will pretty much kill the craving right away. So it's the salt and the fat together that are going to neutralize the desire for sugar.
I love
Just like peanut butter. I love peanut butter and chocolate, dark chocolate.
I, I love peanut butter. I like almond butter. I like sun butter. There's not a butter that I won't eat. Castor butter, they're all good.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, for this case, it would be the no sugar added. Just have to throw that in there. No sugar added butters, the nuts or seeds or whatever. With dark chocolate, or even like my group, we joke because in the summer we were all posting pictures of a few of us posting pictures of our handful of macadamia nuts and dark chocolate squares. That was like candy to our soul. It was amazing. It was so good. And it's like, but it's like the healthy fat, protein, just and the salt is all we needed, and it was totally fine. So,
Which that kind of answers my next question. What can we
oh,
eat
okay.
to fill our sugar if our sugar's bottoming out? You
Oh,
said
yeah, yeah. You so as far as bottoming out, do you mean like if you're feeling low blood sugar if you're fasting, or what were you meaning exactly? I want to make sure I'm answering correctly.
Amber, I think this might have been your question. I don't know if Amber's on here. Let me see.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
Hi.
Well, no, I'm kind of sugar. I I'm I've never been tested for diabetes or anything. I have diabetics on both sides, so I've always been kind of eerie of it. But I have a feeling that I'm getting sugar issues with the way I feel when I eat a lot of sugar.
Yes.
And just like my body's reaction to it, and just me noticing these things. Um, but I can't remember my exact question, but my concerns with it is, yeah, sugar bottoming out or anything while you're fasting. Is that something to be worried about, or how do we deal with that?
Yeah,
And
that's an awesome question. Yeah. So the amazing thing is our bodies are actually designed for fasting. So a lot of times in my group, women will say, my energy's low, I'm getting a headache. You know, a lot of times when we wait too long to eat, it's like, oh, I don't feel right. Lo and behold, like I think I mentioned in the group chat, was it's more about hydration. It's actually being dehydrated. It's a symptom of dehydration, not necessarily low blood sugar, because our bodies have enough either carbohydrates from the food we eat for energy, or stored carbohydrates in your liver to last a while. So once you're you've used up the carbohydrate energy from the food that you ate, your body's going to go right into your liver for the supplemental, right? And then once it goes to supplemental, then when that's tapped out, then it's going to switch gears. Blood sugar's low, insulin's low, then it's going to start tapping into body fat and converting that to energy for fuel. So technically, our blood sugar really only bottoms out if you have a high sugar meal or a sugary or carby meal, whether it's fruit or sugar or whatever, any kind of carbohydrate meal. And your blood sugar starts to go up quickly, and insulin's like, I gotta work fast. A lot of sugar just came in. So, like, usually almost too much insulin comes in, almost over response, like a stress response, over response, and then it goes crashing down. That's when we get the headaches and the fatigue. But even when that happens, if you do take a pinch or two of sea salt and put on your tongue and wash it down with a big glass of water, it'll pretty much take it away, if not ease up the symptoms a lot. So, and I know for me, I'm very sensitive to sugars and carbohydrates. So certain breads, if I eat them, I just get a headache and feel exhausted. So for me, eating a keto style diet and or paleo is what works best for me, or just knowing my body, just knowing that if I eat this, I'm going to feel that way. And if I choose to eat it, I have a consequence, but sometimes it tastes so good, I'd rather take the consequence. So, yeah. Does that answer your question?
that really does.
Okay.
Yeah, I had questions on the headache thing. I always get a headache. It's one of the hardest.
It could be sugar crash.
it, it might be because I feel like I have such issues with sugar. I'm probably going to buy your book and do
Okay.
the sugar detox. I
Yeah.
really am,
Yeah. Let
because
me know. Mm-hmm.
I have such issues with sugar cravings, and I would compare it to an obsession at some times,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
I just love sugar. But yeah, that's probably what it would
Mm-hmm.
be. The last time I did fast, I did take your advice and ate more. I actually had Celtic sea salt, and I thought that might be
Yeah.
better, or yeah, or good. And I had done that and drank some water, and it seemed to help. It really did. So I appreciate that, and it
Oh yeah.
answered
I'm
the
glad.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. You're mentioning. Yeah. So it's basically the headache is a sugar crash.
Do you find
Because of too much, and then so keeping your blood sugar, like if this is the baseline, keeping your blood sugar kind of under radar is what's going
Yeah.
to serve you the best in life overall. And
Okay.
yeah, and any pre-diabetic, and you might not necessarily be at risk for diabetes, and you can stop the risk by eating a more balanced diet. You can not even have an issue with it as long as you start to modify or moderate your sugar intake. Because as long as insulin is getting triggered, it's going to put stress on that and then put you at higher risk for it, because you can become insulin resistant by eating too much sugar, and also end up with elevated cholesterol levels because of having too much sugar, because it's clogging up your liver, which is responsible for metabolizing or dietary fat. So if we have too many carbs on a regular basis, we can end up with elevated cholesterol as well. And that's actually an indicator of having a clogged up liver with either carbohydrate storage or toxins. So, but yeah, I think you'll be fine as long as you balance out your diet. You won't have to deal with any of that diabetic stuff.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cynthia, do you think that potassium, like cream of tartar, would be a good add for that?
As far as like bringing sugars back.
Yeah, that when she's having those crashes or headaches or something like that, because I have my people who have the Candida cleanse going on. They do lemon water with, I don't know if lemon would be considered, if that would be considered a food, if it's lemon juice.
Yeah.
Guess I don't know. That would be a question for you.
Yeah, no, the cream of tartar, that's a good idea. I never thought about that one, but I know with, so in my book, part of the cleansing process is we drink hot lemon water daily, and another little turmeric, that spicy, what's it called? Apple cider vinegar tonic. But those do break a fast. So hot lemon, because it's a carbohydrate source, it does break a fast. A fast is broken anytime you eat carbohydrates immediately. You can actually prolong a fast just by eating fats, because your insulin isn't triggered. A fast is broken when insulin is triggered in any way, shape, or form. Gotcha. So that's how we store body fat. Body fat accumulation is not a caloric issue. You can have a high calorie diet that's high in fats. They call it a fat fast. That's high in fats, and you will probably lose weight. You will lose weight unless there's something other factors going on. But that's how I teach my group how to lose body fat, is by eating a high healthy fat diet and protein, with a lower carbohydrate diet with a day off or two here and there. So a lot of that's newer science too. Well, it's been around forever. Our bodies are designed that way, but they're discovering, fat gain isn't about calories, it's about insulin. It's a hormonal response that gets triggered to tell your body, okay, there's lots of carbs coming in. All my stores are filled. My blood sugar's full. My liver's full. Now what do I do with the extra carbs? Store it as body fat. So you can stay under the radar by eating healthy fats and protein and not have an issue.
Awesome. Okay, this kind of leads right into my next question when we were discussing the liver a little bit ago. So what happens with the liver? You talked about it a little bit before about the liver storing fat and toxins being inside that. When you fast, what happens with those toxins and that fat? I know you said it uses up the fat, but what happens with the toxins? Do they get released, or what happens there?
Yeah. Okay. So, let me jog my brain a minute. Okay. So the toxins in your liver. Okay, this is what I was finding. Okay, so it's because we need to detox our liver before we start fasting. That says something about the ability of fasting to detox your liver, right? So if you're fasting and not getting the results you want from it, it's because your liver is clogged, and fasting on its own doesn't have a big impact on detoxifying your liver, right? So if we were just fasting, we wouldn't have to detox our liver. But in order for your okay, so I talked about carbohydrates being in your liver as well. So carbohydrates are stored in your liver, and of course toxins. So liver, just by fasting, you won't be detoxifying as much or recycling the toxins just by fasting, but you can get rid of those by eating certain foods that will trigger your toxins to leave your liver. Does that make sense?
Prior to fasting, right?
Yeah, or in general, if you're fasting and eating foods or doing things that'll help to promote the detoxification of your liver, then so it's more about other things to do. Fasting helps, but it's limited. It doesn't do as much for liver detoxification as actual detoxing your liver can do.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Which goes right back to what she was saying about the castor oil packs being a great option. It's not so labor intensive either. So
Yeah, exactly.
other options, although I mean, you guys know a big I'm a big advocate for different types of liver cleansing, like coffee enemas and things. But castor oil packs are accessible. It's cheap and it's easy to do, and you can do it with your kids laying beside you.
I love it. I know it's so comfy. I love it. It's like my favorite time. It's just so soothing. Something about castor, I don't know if like what it does to me, like my dopamine, I just feel like, or maybe oxytocin, I'm like, just so cozy and relaxed. It's so nice. But so okay, I was just going back to the liver thing. So I'm just remembering. So with um what fasting does do though is it helps to stimulate the activation of your enzymes in your liver to help with detoxification, but it doesn't completely clear it.
Got it.
Does that
Okay.
make sense? So it helps. It gets that because it's it's healing and autophagy and all those things. So your liver gets healthier in the process. And those enzymes get activated, they start doing their job. But sometimes it's bogged down too much. You have to give it a little bit of help too.
I honestly think that everybody needs to do a liver detox once a year.
Amen.
Just because of, I mean, the liver has a hefty job.
It does a lot with hormones too. Yeah.
So, I mean, you know how I feel about that. But
Yeah.
okay. So let me see here if we have any more questions.
Okay.
We talked about stored carbs. Okay. We talked about cancer too. I don't even think we need to actually ask about that.
Yeah. So the other thing I was going to share, I was thinking about that too, but so for fasting for that, it's like, yeah, 48 to 72 hours in research. That's 48 to 72-hour long fasts is where you get the most benefit for reversing cancer or increasing stem cell production. That's
Right.
kind of like that window.
You were
Yeah.
also saying that it's pretty safe to do alongside of treatment too. And was that in that, did you send me an article uh that mentioned,
Yeah.
I think I read that yesterday it was a fascinating article. And
Wasn't it good? Yeah.
yes, I'll post it in our chat.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, is really, really amazing. But that's really, I mean, I know so many brothers and sisters in Christ, friends, people who aren't Christians. I mean, one of two people are going to get cancer,
Mm-hmm.
one of two in their lifetime. And cancer is a 95% lifestyle um, disease and 5% genetic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Diabetes is very similar too.
Yeah, so there's so much we can do. But I mean, just in church the other day, and it breaks my heart because I listen to these people, everybody around us, especially in our area, in our region, people are not very healthy here. And it's prayer request after prayer request. People have found out that they've got cancer. And if they get a screening and they think that they have cancer, and they found out that the test said that they don't have cancer, in my mind, I sit there and go, the conditions are right for cancer.
Right. The recipe. Right. If they
You
do
know
all
what I
the things to
mean?
follow.
It's
Mm-hmm.
going to happen inevitably. If they went in after that and they wanted to know, do I have cancer? The doctor wants to know, do they have cancer? Then that says the conditions are right for them to have cancer. And so, I mean, it just breaks my heart. I want to be able to give people access to this kind of information. And I just can't thank you enough for coming on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's my
He always
pleasure.
tries to attack me and be like, you don't want to mix this up with a Bible study group. You don't want to tell Christians about this kind of stuff. You
Oh
know,
man. Yeah.
like,
God told me to tell you guys.
you don't want to bring those two things together. Satan just tries to do all kinds of stuff, but I think that this information is so necessary,
Mm-hmm.
for the Christian community, just the world itself. And people don't really know that this is available to them, and you don't even have to pay for it. God,
Yes. It's free. It's
God
free.
already gave it to us.
You don't have to pay anybody. You don't have to pay. You just do nothing. But
Right.
know the little nuances of, the way to make it. And of course, people always don't talk about the elephant in the room, which is feeling hungry. So
Yeah.
that's a whole other thing, right? It's like, well, yeah, we're fasting. You're going to feel hungry. That's just the way it is. You just learn how to embrace it, lean into it. And just like with anything, like with exercise, like if you were training for a 5K, you've never run a day in your life. As your personal trainer, I wouldn't say, okay, go run a 5K and tell me how it went. I'm going to say, no, let's walk around the block first, right? So fasting is the same way. With my group, we start out with a 12 to 13-hour fast, which is basically stopping eating dinner at 7, and you can wake up and eat in the morning at 7 or 8 a.m. That's a 12 to 13-hour fast. We use sleep as our freebie, right, for fasting. And then we go, okay, you feel like you can do a little bit more, or you forget to eat. And you're like, oh wait, I did 14 today. That's cool. Or you're at 16 or 18. You're like, I'm so hungry. When is it going to be 20 hours, right? But you just lean into it. You just keep yourself busy, do some exercise, drink some black coffee or tea. There's things you can do to kind of help the hunger, but it's also training. It really is training your body to know this is the new normal. And yeah, like for me, forever I was like, I'm like, when is this? Because people say when you condition your body to fasting, you become metabolically flexible, meaning you train your metabolism to burn body fat for fuel. And it has happened for me. But at first it was like months. I'm like, why am I still feeling hungry all the time? Why isn't my body switching over to ketosis faster? Why, all these things. And I realized it was because of I needed to get my gut health straightened out. That's why I was hungry all the time. So, but anyway, in my group and classes and everything, I give everybody little tips and tricks on how to navigate hunger and how to embrace it and know that being hungry is okay. My body will be fine. We can, as average weight people, we can live 4 to 5 months without eating a thing, but drinking water and getting electrolytes. We can actually last that long without eating, and it sounds crazy. So you'll be fine. It's uncomfortable, but you'll be fine. And then people who are like morbidly obese can go a whole year without food and just use their body fat for energy. So it helps me when I think about that.
That reminds me of one of those Survivor shows where
Yeah, we watch all Survivor all the time. Yeah.
they just gained a bunch of weight so that they can win the game. And they just sit in there and fast like 6 months or
Yeah.
something.
As long as their liver's clear, they can do it. And there's some people that, because we watch Survivor a lot, and I watch the body types. I'm like, the thinner, healthier ones lose weight faster. The ones who are heavier and less healthy don't, because their livers aren't healthy, and it's going to be harder on them and their blood sugar to switch gears.
Yeah, my husband was like, he's like, that's not right. He's like, all these people have these amazing skills. They're like building these amazing huts. And then some of these people are just like, they're like, I'm just going to go hang out in this little hub for a minute and game.
That's true. I know. My husband loves that show. We watch it pretty much every night right now. But yeah, it's a cool experiment, to watch people in there. They get stronger as they go. Their brain clarity is so good.
Yeah, it tells you right there that, we're not going to die, if we don't eat food for 24 hours.
You might want to kill somebody, but you're not going to die.
Yeah, my husband might not want to talk to me for a couple days when I start doing this.
I mean, you start out small, and then I teach everybody how to go from there, and then how to push the envelope a little bit. And
right,
it's gentle. It's the gentlest way we can do it with getting the results.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Oh, we talked about fatigue and headaches while fasting.
Oh yeah, and then cortisol, keeping that low. Cortisol is a whole other animal, but
yeah,
stress. If you can keep your stress low, that'll help a lot too.
so we talked about rest and keeping cortisol low. And guys, I know we talk about, I don't know if you know what cortisol is, but when we're stressed, it gets released. Cortisol goes high, and that's when you're running from the bear, and fight or flight happens, and when we're really super stressed. So what she's saying is stay in a calm state, put yourself in a situation where, you you can be comfortable and rested and not be triggered into really stressful events during that time. So just know what your triggers are and be able to manage those things. Would you have any suggestions on that?
Yeah. So I was actually talking to my group this morning about it. So with cortisol can impede body fat loss with fasting too. So when cortisol's up, sugars are up, and it's even if you're fasting. So if you can keep your cortisol low, it's ideal, but then also just for your general health overall. So what you can do is just practice, mindfulness meditation, time with the Lord. I like to spend mine like first thing in the morning and just go out and pray. And like she said, knowing your triggers, but also conditioning your mind to know how to go back to a restful place, which is when you do daily meditation or mindfulness exercises and practice, you start conditioning that part of your brain to go there when things get stressful. Or even if you're starting to feel stressed, you're like, oh, wait, is this really as big of a deal as I think it is? So you're kind of able to condition your brain so you can respond to stress in a healthier way. Or just start moving your body. If cortisol's up, cortisol is designed to make your body move. That's why our heart rate goes up when you have like a stressful event, because your body's like, okay, I need to run or fight, right? So it's important that if you're feeling that heart racing, to get up and move or do some push-ups or get your heart rate up to counter or to satisfy the need that cortisol has. So sometimes we call it on the spot cortisol reduction, where you just do some hard exercise right up and down some stairs real quick. If you can't do that, I like to like compress the top of my head like 6 or 7 times and release, and it really helps to bring down that fight or flight, or your chest to get cozy. Like when you have a baby on your chest, it's so cozy and oxytocin's flowing, you feel really good. So even compressing your chest here, that center, helps you to feel a little bit more calm down too.
That is huge for me. I've never ever had anyone tell me to exercise when I'm starting to feel stressed. I've heard that exercise helps with stress, but like in the heat of the moment when I'm having a panic attack, what I do is I curl up in bed and I pray. But we've got a treadmill here, and it never once occurred to me to get on the treadmill when I start feeling that anxiety creeping up on me.
Yes, yeah. Or even just that, it's a good point, because the other thing I like to recommend too is just go out and go for a walk. Even when I have women who are triggered, by food and binge eating and things like that, and I tell them just get out of the house, just walk, because we're triggered. It's a triggered moment. So just get out and walk. Just start moving wherever, anywhere. Just meander around the house. Organize something helps
Just
to put you in a logic brain instead of a emotional brain.
Just getting up and doing something, that's something that I can do very easily. I'm really grateful you said that. That's kind of life changing. I
That's awesome.
have an anxiety disorder, and I'm looking for ways to overcome that. So what you said right there was a game changer for me.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, let me know. Reach out if you want. I'm mostly recovered from anxiety also. And so that's a big part of my practice, is teaching women how to keep cortisol low. And even myself, I do it. I recognize it so much more now because I'm aware of it. Like when my heart's racing, I'm like, okay, Lord, what's going on? And actually today I ordered some GABA. I don't, it's a long brain chemical name, but it helps to calm you down as well. Also it's GABA. Also ashwagandha, it's a long word, but it's also calming. And then magnesium is something I have my groups take daily for calming and mood balance. So ashwagandha, magnesium, GABA, and even a multivitamin B. Those are the vitamin B's is a precursor to serotonin production. So if you need more balance in mood, multivitamin B helps a lot too.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope it helps. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, did you want to know about the spiritual part of it? I'm just thinking about this.
Well, we've talked about the physical side of all of this, and we're into the second week, the second session of our study on the spiritual reasons why people do while we fast. And Amber, do you want to talk just a little bit about what we've gone over so far? Are you with us? Where's Amber?
I am. I'm here.
Yeah. So we've
covered I think we got to do 3 or 4 of them last week. But I pulled 10 out of the Bible, 10 examples and their reasons why they did in the Bible. And we had covered in Matthew Jesus's fast, his example for us. and Ezra's fast when he called that, and in Second Chronicles, Jehoshaphat's fast. And I think that was the 3 that we covered it last week, but I have about 7 more, maybe 8, that we'll be covering in future studies.
Yeah, and it's interesting because with biblical fasting, it wasn't always food. It could have been entertainment or something for a period of time. I know I have a friend of mine, Rennie Ling. She wrote a book called Give, Fast, and Pray. And I'm actually in her group. We cross promote each other, and I've interviewed her in my groups because there's cool crossover with spiritual fasting and physical fasting. And so she was teaching me about in Old Testament, yeah, I guess new too. Jesus obviously fasted food, but not water. So but there's times where certain kings didn't necessarily fast food, but they chose to fast entertainment, like their typical entertainment. I think it had to do with Daniel in the Lion's Den. He decided the king was so distraught, he didn't want his entertainment people to come. He just wanted to focus. And even though he wasn't a believer, God still worked in him through his faith. That he just wanted, he was hoping Daniel would still be alive. And through his fast and his faith, he was saved. So, and I thought, wow, we don't always have to fast food. I'm actually doing that group right now with Rennie and her group, and we're starting tomorrow. These first 3 days is us setting it up, but I was praying this morning. I'm like, Lord, what do you want me to fast? And it's funny. I woke up and I was praying, and my laptop was kind of near where I was praying, and I looked down and he said that. It's like, my laptop? How is this to work? What do you want me to do? But this morning he was so sweet. He really revealed to me in my prayer time. He's like, it's not the laptop, it's your time that I want. I don't want you to go right to that. I want you to go to me. And I was like, oh, you're so sweet. We had a sweet time together this morning. But yeah, so for me, whatever the Holy Spirit prompts each person, but fasting can be obviously not just food, and a lot of times it is, but not always. So I don't know what you guys are covering in your group. I just thought that's interesting.
We were just talking about the biblically what fasting means and the reasons why people go to the Lord and fast. And I think that I finally found an Amber where it said temptation was one of them. We covered dedication to God.
Yes.
And we covered to seek protection. So those are the 3 that we've covered so far through those studies that she mentioned there. And it's interesting what you're talking about, Cynthia, about I wouldn't call it fasting, but I guess in a sense it can be used that way. But it's a barrier, basically, removing barriers from us and the Lord. And even my work, my interests, my study, even the things that we're doing right now, like with health and talking about that has been a barrier sometimes in my life between me and the Lord. And he has readjusted my time personally just because of where I'm at in my life timeline with my family and what he wants me to do for my children, and how he wants me to support my husband during this time. And everybody's walk is different. Everybody's in different seasons in their lives, and that's why we have a Holy Spirit. Because the Holy Spirit's always talking to us and leading and guiding us. We can't live this life without the Lord. And I'm so thankful to the Holy Spirit for letting us know, hey, maybe we need to step away from the computer for a little while, and I want more of you today, in this way. I need you to do this today. So it's a relationship. It's not a book, right?
Yes. I know that's the thing. It's like, he was just so sweet. He's like, I just miss hanging out with you. Just us, like, oh, okay, I'm here. He just told me to go to a secret place. And I was like, all right, okay. So it was, So it just reminded me of like the jealous God. It's like he needs us just as much as we need him. But
absolutely. Well, we've talked about a whole lot, and we have gone a little over, and I'm sorry.
That's okay. Did you want me to mention anything about the crossover between physical and spiritual real quick? Okay.
I would love to hear your take on that.
Okay, yeah. So I'll try to be brief, but so when Rennie, this lady who wrote the book, her and I have the same writing coach, but we crossed paths and we were chatting, having a little Zoom chat, trying to understand, crossover and just each other. And we couldn't think of anything. We're like, what is it, Lord, that's physical and biblical fasting, like, or what you call us to do and what the physical, right? Because he's in it both, right? He's in it on both of them, and they're both healing and they're both amazing. And so finally, when we did our interview together, we were in our call, and right then and there, I was like, ah, aha moment. So you know that timeline I was showing you all earlier. So at about 17, 18 hours of fasting, the ketone production is high, and that just gives you so much brain clarity. You're very open mentally, like physically, but also very open spiritually. If you're dedicating your fast to the Lord, there's also a spiritual opening. And I think we always have that, but it's just where your mind's at, like where your mindset's at. So we realized, oh my goodness, at that time when I had done longer spiritual fasts and never had really done, daily fasting myself, all of a sudden I get to this point, which some of you may have experienced this, but it's like this clarity, this like closeness with the Holy Spirit, like you're direct, like on the line with the Holy Spirit, and you're hearing clearly. You're, like basically he's here, you're here, you're hearing everything. And that happens when you're fasting. So when you're fasting, you have so much brain clarity. Like I used to stutter and I don't anymore. I used to really struggle with coming up with words, and I make my brain think of them now, and it's so much better. So I believe for me, that's where the crossover is, to understand that he's healing us while, even if you're spiritually fasting, your body's still healing itself. So, but you're just so much closer with him because of all the physiological things that are happening. I'm sure in the spirit, we're all, triune beings. So, yeah, that was my discovery. I was like, okay, I know he's in it, both of them. And there doesn't have to be a crossover, but I knew there was. And I really believe it has to do with what's happening in our bodies physiologically, and in a spiritual place. So I don't know if anybody has any ideas or opinions or feel like, wow, that's cool. I don't know.
Do you girls have anything to say about that, or do you want to have any input there?
I love that you just said that, because I was telling my husband the other day, I don't even understand what my brain's doing sometimes, because I just can't think. I can't like produce words sometimes, and I get so upset at myself. But as soon as you started to talk about the spiritual like awakening that people have, it clicked in my head, because I've been in fasts and had that. And I told my husband one day, I was like, there's just something there. There's something that's opening. And I feel like that my connection with the Lord is like just brighter, and it's beautiful. And so I can completely connect with how you said that and relate. But I also had a question. How often should we be fasting, or what you think about, like, do you do daily fasts? Or I didn't remember you covering that specific part.
Yeah, sure. I can mention that for sure. That's a good question. Yes. So I do fast daily. I'm in maintenance right now. So how long to fast, to answer that question, is really dependent on what your reason for fasting is, right? So we look at the timeline. If somebody wants to heal or reverse a condition, you want to gradually build up to do longer ones once in a while. So I'll give you a schedule. So how I use it in my group. So we do 5 days a week of more of an intermittent or autophagy fast. So we either go between 16 to 18 to 20 hours, depending on how you're feeling or what you're needing in the moment. So I have a client who has issues with rosacea, which we're tackling that from other angles too. But she typically does an 18 to 19-hour fast to keep her inflammation down. Okay. And then that's like a 5-day a week thing. And then 4 days. Either Monday, it's up to the person, either Monday or Friday during the week, you choose one of those days to do a long or an extended fast. So that's extended fast would be depending on where you're at, but typically between 24 all up to 72 hours. I know it's one day, but 24 to 72. And it's very, very important. If you still have a menstrual cycle, there's a whole schedule to fast according to your body's cycle, because you don't want to put stress on your body when your body needs to chill, especially the last 10 days of your cycle. I've learned that the hard way, but there's a whole study on this. I have information I have a sheet that tells you the calendar of exactly how to fast according to your cycle. Even if you're postmenopausal, I work with those ladies too, perimenopausal, menopausal, there's a way to fast according to your hormonal balance. Sometimes we just fast according to daylight. You can use the sun as your guide. Eat when it's light out and stop eating before it gets dark. So that's more in tune with nature. Okay, so 4 days a week of intermittent fasting, 1 day of a week an extended fast, and then 1 day off if you want. For me, it's hard. I'm so used to fasting that if on my Sunday day off, I don't even really want something to eat because it just feels weird. Usually I stop dinner about 7, skip breakfast and eat lunch. That's my or longer depending on how I'm feeling. Right now, I'm not supposed to be fasting more than 15 hours just because I'm between day 11 and day 16 of my cycle. And there's a whole schedule to it. But, and beyond, like the first 10 days, you can fast away, do all kinds of fasting if you want. But it takes training. It takes conditioning. I wouldn't recommend just going out of the gate with a 24-hour fast. You can, but just know how to do it healthfully, having your salt, having your water available, resting. It is advisable to exercise when you're fasting because there's lots of health benefits. But if you're too new to it and it feels too hard, then don't do it. You can also do a tablespoon of peanut butter without sugar added if you want to extend a fast longer as like a crutch, because it's not going to affect your insulin. You can also do half of an avocado. These are called fasting snacks, which sounds counterintuitive. If you're learning, it helps, and it helps you to extend the fast a little bit longer. So just know what you're doing before you dive into it. Let me know if you have questions. If you want to do a spiritual fast that's longer without food, you can definitely do it. It's just, I have ways to make it a little bit easier if you need help with that. So,
okay. Now that was a great information. I was taking notes because I want to get into it more, and I've done day fasts here and there, but it was very forced, and I think it was
that's
just
hard.
Yeah, it was hard. But I wanted to do like a weekly thing. That was one of my goals for this year, and I didn't know if that was okay to just try, because it's more of just like I know the health benefits, but it's kind of a mix between wanting the health, but also the spiritual side of it. It's more just both. But I think that I might go into more of like the 16 to 18, 20 hour thing that you was talking about, 4 days. The cycle thing, I would love information on too. I know this is getting into a longer day today, but I would love information on that eventually.
I know. Yeah, there's so much I could find. Yeah, I could be here all day. But I know. You know what? I mean, if you want, definitely, if anybody's listening, you can join my Facebook community, and I'm sure those things all the time. So you can get access to the sheets, or my private course is like, that's my inner circle, where if you want to get more intensive, join me. We start February 5th. It's called the Ageless Body Blueprint: How to Be Fit, Fabulous, and Fierce Over 40. So I'm kind of like on the iceberg, at the top of the iceberg. We don't really, there's so much more. This is just the basics. So if anyone who's listening wants more, my website it's on my little name here, CynthiaRay.com, and go on there. It has all of my groups, classes, one-on-one counseling. I still do that. So all the resources are there. My Facebook group is Fit and Fabulous Over 40. I'll put the link in the chat box real quick.
Really quick too. I'm 29. Okay. So do you still, like, I know you said over 40 quite a bit, but like I would love to get into your Facebook group and stuff. So it is, I mean, a lot of the information is for everyone, right?
For sure. Yeah. Okay, anybody can. I tell everybody that. I'm like, you don't have to be 40.
Okay.
You can be 20 or 80. It doesn't matter.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So I just put the link to my group in the chat too.
Awesome.
The fact that you are is really inspiring to everyone at every age, believe me.
Oh, yay.
We want to do what you do now.
Okay. Yeah.
We got to do that now, because we want to look like you.
I know, right? Yeah. Start now. Right. Yeah. Don't wait. Yeah. Start now. Yeah. So it's my fit. It's Over 40 and Fabulous is the name of my group, my public group. And actually next week I'm doing a 5-day How to Be Fit, Fabulous, and Fierce Over 40 5-day little challenge group. So I'm going to be doing videos daily and explaining it in a consecutive way, and how to do it and how to live it out.
No, awesome. You have a free group too, don't you?
This one that I posted.
Okay, so she's posting the free group. I'm just trying to break this down for them.
Mm-hmm.
Go to her website, which is probably where you're going to be able to find her book if you need to buy her book.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's at cynthiaray.com. And
Mm-hmm.
if you want to join her free group, she's posting that in the, did you say the comment? Yeah, in the
Yeah,
chat.
in the chat. Uh-huh.
Well, we can also post that in our group so that anybody who catches the replay of this can check out her free group where she'll be giving valuable content. I mean, she gives valuable content all the time, every day. So
Yeah,
just
and let me know if you want to, if friend request me on Facebook. It's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me. You can just send me a private message. So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just was thinking real quick.
have we left anything out? Does anybody have any questions for Cynthia? This was just a blessing to us, and we hope to have you back again.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, girls, do you have anything for Cynthia?
No, I got all my answers in, and I'm just so grateful. And I mean, this is precious to me. So thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I'm so glad it helped.
Perfect. Well, if that's the case, then I just want to thank you, and I want to thank the Lord for allowing us to all come together today and discuss this. Fasting is a really large topic to address spiritually. And then when we talk about the spiritual benefits of it, and we talk about the reasons why people humble themselves before the Lord, um, it's such a wide topic, and we could not talk about the physical benefits with all the new science that has come up over the last few years about how it can benefit us. And I think that this would really help so many people. If you're a Christian or non-Christian out there who doesn't, um, you didn't know how to address fasting, or you thought that you were too sick to fast or something like that, I hope that this was helpful to you. And to the Lord, I'm just so thankful, that He has opened this doorway for us. We've been talking for quite some time, and I didn't know how we were going to do it, but the Lord made a way. And
Yay.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I love sharing, and it blesses me to share too. So thank you.
Wonderful. Well, I know where I'm going to be getting your copy of your book so that I can um, take a look at this and look at how you're going about doing it. I really want to integrate it into my lifestyle later on after this little baby.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so I just posted just real quick. My book has a separate website. It's also on my regular website, but it's 21dayswithoutsugar.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.